Hey, guys, it is Allison. I am the host of your show, Allison Answers Mission Awake. I cannot wait to sit down with you today and go over how we are going to crush the mediocrity in your life that has been plaguing our society since the beginning of time. I cannot wait to have a real deal conversation that includes intelligence, fun, excitement, and real actionable steps to make a real difference in the life that you're living now and making it into something you can be damn proud of and excited to live. Sit down, put on your damn seatbelt, and get ready for the ride of your life. I'd like to introduce you to my next guest, who is really force to be reckoned with. His name is Mark Ferrelli, and his story is going to blow your socks off, because basically what he describes is his tenacity and his repeated exposure to difficult times, but his way of seeing things as a young man and finding the opportunity in darker times, like during COVID and when he lost his mother and his grandfather, and the way that he went about the challenges that he faced, and how his life, he's a long life serial entrepreneur, a person who began at 19 years old, opened up a pizza place, and through every experience, listened to his gut, listened to his heart, listened to God, and made the pivot, the move to create something that continued to build a life of his greatest potential. He will not be a person who's going to tell you he's reached his greatest potential, because he's a person who is consistently growing and committed to that. He's a fitness enthusiast. He has a clothing line called This New Day Apparel. He has a podcast, This New Day Podcast, and he has a successful ongoing business for many, many years. And he is someone who is driven by the goodness in his heart to always make the world a better place. So I hope that you really take the time to listen in, hear that there's so many nuggets that are dropped during this podcast that every few minutes you're going to hear something that has the possibility to transform your life. So I hope you enjoy it. Hey, guys, how are you today? It is Allison from Allison Answers and Lugger Counseling Services. We have Mark Ferrelli here today. And as you've heard my whole introduction about him, I'm going to allow him to share how he has utilized his difficulties in his life to not only develop a new company, but also to really improve the company that he had. And also we're going to talk about all different things. So you can expect to hear Mark and I talk about faith and the process of how faith transforms our lives, and how obstacles are just opportunities, and how Mark took a time of depression and he created it into something that is something that you can yourself actually see as something that can help you get out of depression. And you can see behind him, it says, This New Day, right? Is that what it says? Mm-hmm. This new day. And yeah. So we're going to talk about that, we always have an opportunity. There's always something. We can wake up every day and there's new baby neurons that are born, like literally baby nerve cells that are there for us to start something new and create something new. We don't have to bring everything from yesterday into today and start from there. We can always start fresh. So here we go. This is Mark Ferrelli. I know Mark, I'm going to talk one more second. So I know Mark from like this different circles. Like, I don't even know if you're an Arete. I think you're an Arete, right? Are you?
Not anymore. I was.
No, he was an Arete. That's how I know him. So basically, and we just somehow, without even really just from content and going back and forth, we kind of just became like friends. I didn't even
Mhm.
know. I just assume he's my friend.
Right.
So, and
We are
basically,
friends.
we're friends. So basically, so what you're going to hear, you're going to just get to know him as a human being and what he's done in his life. And I want you to apply it to yourself. So, Mark, welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank
Tell
you
us
for having
about
me.
you.
I'm
Yeah.
very grateful to be on with you. After you asked me, I listened to a bunch of your podcasts, and you do a great job and have some great guests on, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
I'm so honored to have you. I know it's going to be great. So, could you tell us, I read about you,
Mhm.
and could you tell us, like, I guess, how you got to be where you are now? Like a little
Sure,
backstory.
sure.
Mhm.
I grew up in Pittsburgh, your stereotypical middle class family. My dad was a cop for 40 years. And my mom was primarily a homemaker. We lived like your stereotypical middle class family. I was raised to kind of get a job, get your health care, get your 401k, that kind of thing. But I knew at a very young age, like that just was not for me. Like something, it just didn't fit right. So early on, I worked at a pizzeria, and I had the opportunity uh, to franchise, and I did. So I opened a pizzeria. I think I was 19, 20 years old. Um, just the stereotypical 9 to 5, just it did not work for me. I don't like being told what to do. Uh, and
I
B,
don't
I just
either.
want to do things on my own terms, right? So I had that pizzeria for about 3 years, and honestly, I just got burnt out,
I
right?
just have to ask you a question before you
Yeah,
go further.
uh-huh.
You're 19 years old at that point, and
Yeah.
you open a franchise. Could you just tell us how you did that at 19? I'm just
Work
curious.
worked my tail off.
Okay.
The guys that I franchise off of, they did help me a bit. But I remember a specific story really quick. My grandmother, I was really, really close with her. And I asked her for money when I started this, and she told me no. And like I was like devastated because like she was like my everything, right? But that was like the greatest gift ever because that forced me to think differently, think deeper about how I'm going to do this, right? So that's what I did. Um,
Oh
just went,
God, I'm
yeah,
so bad. I have to just comment on that is amazing. Think
right.
about that. Like we don't realize the power of our no,
Oh,
like,
exactly, exactly. Her
power of
saying
our
yes would have been the easy
absence.
way, right? So
Yes.
yeah, so
Yes.
but
Thank you.
it was a great learning experience. I learned a lot in business about what not to do. uh, like I said, I got burned out, right? I was 19, 20 years old for 3 years. I would work till 11 midnight, go out with my boys till 4 in the morning, sleep a couple hours and do it all over again. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I did. End up selling it back to the guys I bought it off of. From that point, I kind of know what to do. So let's go to school, right? Let's go to college. Huge mistake. I went to a quote unquote business school. I don't even remember what it's called. And sitting there like just bored out of my mind. They're trying to teach me things I already knew. Um, so after that, I go get my internship, right? I remember it was the first Friday. I was there 5 days. I was in this office building, this marketing place. And it was lunchtime. I said, I'm leaving. She said, what do you mean you're leaving? I said, I'm done. I can't do this. Well, you may not pass. I said, I don't care if I pass. Like I cannot sit in this office building and do this anymore. And I just never looked back from there. Um, from there, went back in the restaurant business. I worked for the Cracker Barrel for a couple years, GM, opening, closing stores, which was fun. I traveled a bit, learned some more about business. And then after that, that's when I opened my wine and spirit distribution business. Um, being in the restaurant business, I saw kind of an area of opportunity. Being in Pennsylvania, we're a quote unquote control state, so we do things differently in that market. So it kind of created a little vacuum for an opportunity. So been doing that ever since.
Can I just stop you? Because I want to ask you
Sure.
a question. Because what you're describing right now, I feel like is so um, important for even just what I believe about um, our the youth falling into mediocrity
I
because they
agree.
believe there's no other way. And when I'm listening to you, what I'm hearing is you're this young guy so that you said no to something that didn't align with you, you know, in that business school and that internship,
Mhm.
you know, and it sounds like in spite of what, who knows what people said, I don't know. I would love to know. But then what I'm thinking about is then you start working in this restaurant business, which anyone could say, oh, that I don't know what you did, a server or whatever, that people would see that as a lower level thing. But what I hear right there is you saw a need, you saw a problem or something that could, an
Correct.
opportunity, you were able to
Right.
see it. And that's what I just want to say to anybody, because we have like clients here who are like teens or young adults, and they're like, I don't know, I have this lousy job or whatever. I'm like, everything builds into something
That's
if you
correct.
let it. So now I just wanted to say, like, that is really cool. So you saw it.
Right. Correct. Yep. Well, let me backtrack a little
Yeah.
bit in that story. When I was with the Cracker Barrel, I was a general manager, and I was traveling a little bit for them, opening stores, closing stores, and I think I was around 30, a little over 30 at the time. And I remember specifically having a conversation with the district manager about me getting promoted to district manager or whatever. And I immediately felt this like heavy burden, like if I get promoted, start making that kind of money, am I ever going to leave? And do I want to stay here?
It's great.
So that's when I left. Like from what I remember, I left without a job. I just my DM was floored. Like he couldn't, because I didn't want to be in that trap again. Like I talked about earlier, just did not, the 95, the corporate world is just not for me. So knowing what I know about the restaurant business, that's when I opened my distribution business. And then 7 years ago, opened a diner with a cousin of mine. Yeah, still there. I sold it to her. She enjoyed it more than me. So,
Did you work in it?
oh yeah, oh yeah. Her and I opened it. I was there for about 2.5 years, and we had a building with an apartment on top, and I sold her the business. I kept the building for a while and just sold the building last month, actually. Um, so yeah, that was another learning experience, which is cool. It's interesting in that industry, the restaurant industry. Like it's like a lot of things. Once it's in your blood, it's kind of hard to get out of, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I agree. I did all through college. That's what I did.
yeah,
And you don't realize, being in the restaurant business, how much it teaches you about just people, and just even having a party at your house, like how to
oh for
do
sure,
stuff,
yeah.
you
And
know?
just the way you talk to people, especially if you're a
Mhm.
server or bartender, or someone that
Yes.
deals with the public, uh,
Hmm.
just teaching them how to relate.
Yes.
I actually do that with my kids. I don't mean to go off on a
No,
tangent here.
do it. That's not a tangent. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
kids are 9 and 7, and I've always
Yeah.
tried. I'm not always make them do it, but like when we're out to eat, like they order themselves. Like I want
Yeah.
them to be able to build that skill of talking to people. Like when we meet
Yes.
somebody, I don't introduce my son or my daughter. I let them introduce themselves, shake hand, look them in the eye,
Yeah.
because that is important in today's world. Um,
Yeah.
the one-to-one contact, and the earlier you can build that in children, the better.
That's
Especially
such a
now,
great
like
point.
the youth now with these video games and social media, and I think they're losing a lot of that. They don't. You see it with a lot of young folks. Like you go to Starbucks and so you try to have a conversation. Sometimes some of them don't know what to do.
Yeah.
They
You
don't
know
know
what
how to
I
carry a
love?
conversation.
What you just said, I'm sorry to interrupt you. What I
No,
love
that's fine.
is that I think anything we can do that is completely countercultural at this point, and I don't mean like in a rebellious way, but it wows people. Like when you
Right.
see when you see a child look you in the eye and is able to have a conversation, people are surprised because their
Yes.
expectation is different. And if you see
Right.
a couple that isn't sarcastic and rolling their eyes about the other one, and they're actually lifting one another up, that's like a unique,
Yes.
it shouldn't be, but that's how we stand out, right? And
That's
creates,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I love that you said that. That wasn't a tangent, that was a great
Yeah.
tangent. Keeps us, like those old world, those not old world, those like traditional standards
Right.
are, I don't want to lose them. It
No.
makes our kids
No. They
stand
never go
out
out of
too.
style. It's
Hmm.
it's life. They never go out of style. It's what you're supposed to
No,
do.
right?
man's
Does
supposed
it?
to open a door for a lady. Like that's it's just what you do.
I'll
It's
tell you, my son was really little. He was probably like 6 or something. And there was this little girl in the neighborhood who always came over. And she was just so cute. They were so cute. And he was always afraid to go into the basement. Like he was scared to go down. So he would have me go down, right? So then I always made them, I'd be like, you never walk through a door. You always, ladies are always first all the
yep.
time. So then he's like, he looks at me. They were going to go in the basement to play. He looks at me and he goes, and he looks at her, he goes, ladies first, because he was afraid to go down. I'm like, you little shit, I just thought it was
That's
so
great.
funny, but anyhow, like, it's like,
Uh,
yeah, like you tell my boys, like you ever see a woman struggling, whatever it is, I don't care where you are. I don't care if you're late, you stop what you're doing, you get like, you always pay. Like, yeah, I
yep.
mean, I believe in that.
I
So
agree.
I trailed off, Mark.
100%. No, you're
Okay.
fine.
We got to kick some men's ass here today. Okay.
I
So
love
yeah, I'm a Christian and I curse. Okay.
it.
So let's
Good.
move on. Basically, so tell us more about, like, so then you left, which I love that. So bold.
Mm, I
So
just
you heard yourself. You knew it. You knew
right.
you.
And I've never been afraid to take risk.
Love it.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
and probably why I married my wife, because she's like the safe one, right? Like she keeps me
Yeah.
in bounds, right? Yeah, because
You
she's
need a
always like,
safety net.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
Right.
or else I'd be like off on a tangent somewhere. I have that.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of the shiny object syndrome, especially with
Yeah. Yeah.
entrepreneurship. I get comfortable in business, and oh wait, there's something over there. Let's try that.
Yes.
And then ultimately, something always tends to reel you back in, I think.
I really believe that if somebody is meant to be like an entrepreneur, and I think that we have that in us. It's like we're a visionary, so like
For sure.
we can have 10 ideas, like it says in Traction, you can have 10 ideas and they 9 of them stink, but the one, and I think it can be like painful and difficult for an entrepreneur or something, because we're always like, wow, look at that, look at that, look at that. But I think that we're made that way. I
Mm-hmm.
think we get excited over things. And I mean, if you really think about how is anything created without that sort of a passion, if we're too, I mean, I think a world by God, there isn't fear. It's like,
I
yeah,
totally
jump off
agree.
there, do that. Nobody's getting hurt. Let's have some
Totally
fun,
agree.
right?
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
Okay, so back to your story. Yeah.
So yeah, we'll fast forward to the pandemic.
Mm.
So here I am in this business 13 years now. And I specifically remember February of 2020 sitting down, actually it was probably like the first couple of days of March doing my books for February. And I remember specifically, I was right over there at my desk saying, holy shit, we're on pace to have a record year. Like this is awesome. Like, and 2 weeks later, March 2020, my phone is ringing off the hook, customers canceling. They don't know what to do. They don't know what's going on. Canceling here, canceling there. And Allison, I just felt like, I remember sitting in my kitchen. I felt like the walls were just closing in on me, like just panic, just pure, like everything is crumbling. Like everything I built for the last 13 years is crumbling around me. And I remember going in my basement, and I had a coach at the time, calling him, and he kind of talked me off a ledge there, and it was an interesting time, that's for sure. And then was it 4 months later in June, my mom was sick and she passed, June of 2020.
I'm sorry.
And then 3 months later my grandfather passed. So 2020 was a interesting year, to say the least.
Yes.
But with that said, we talked about this earlier, and everybody knows Ed talks about it. Things happen for you, not to you. It was hard for me to see in that time, but afterwards, boy, what a gift.
Let me
What
ask
a
you a
gift.
question
Sure.
before we skip into the gift,
Yeah.
because we usually do that, right? So like what actually, when you're in, you're in March, which moves into June, right? That
Mhm.
So what were you feeling? What were you experiencing? Like how did you see your life at that time? you know, when you lose your mom, your grandfather, like, and your I mean, I'm assuming your business, you didn't have your business at that
Yeah,
time.
it went to zero in 2 weeks. I went from having thoughts of my best year ever to zero.
What
Um,
were you afraid?
I felt like a failure. I felt like I failed myself, my family. Um, I mean, thankfully, my wife works. She has a very good job, so I mean, we were okay as a family still, as a household. But you know, I'm your stereotypical male, right? Like I
Yeah.
want to provide. I'm
Hmm.
not saying she can't. She does. Thankfully, she does. I mean, she carried us for 2 years. Um, I felt this other like a failure, like just my whole world is collapsing.
Yeah.
Um, and then
Can
you know, a
I
month
ask
later,
you
her
something
mom's
about that?
yeah.
I just want
Hmm.
to ask you about that because I think this is so important because when people hear this, it will, they'll hear themselves. So, like, in that moment, we hear this description up till now of this young man moving through his life and succeeding, doing everything, taking risks, and making a really big difference, right? Now you have this moment where things didn't work. So what were like the words that you were hearing? What how did you put together failure with that? Like from your perspective, I know you didn't fail, but how did you see it as a failure? Because it was an external, you know, experience that we were all experiencing. Because this is what happens to us. Our voice in
Hmm.
our head tells us this story, this lie that has nothing to do with reality. So what made it a failure? Because you're a man? Like, what was it?
That was a big part of it, and also, I think in any situation, you always think, "What could I have done different?
Mm-hmm.
How could I have prevented this? How could I have insulated us from this? I should have saved more. I should have started that side hustle earlier. I should have done this. I should have done that." Just all those, like you said, once one thought gets into your head, it just multiplies.
Yeah.
Um,
I just want to piggyback on that because I love to like throw in a little like neuroscience. So like that we call that like chain analysis. So
mhm,
basically, when all of a sudden we have this really bad feeling, and it could be related to what's happening outside of us. So now we have the feeling, the thoughts that go with it. And if we stop and we usually it's like popcorn, the thoughts just keep going and they will keep going and they will basically it's like almost like a toilet, you know, you're just like going spinning down. And it's like I have people like stop as soon as you feel that and ask like when did this start? If you follow the chain of thought, you can find out when it started. In your situation, you knew,
mhm.
but it's weird because our brains are we you know like begets like our brains when one thought it will attach to a very similar thought,
Right.
right? So anyhow, yeah, I just want to throw that out there. So yeah, so what
I would like
happened?
to say something
Yeah.
that may help some people that I learned in therapy. Actually, that's been a huge help for me. The way it was explained to me, when you're having these thoughts, picture yourself sitting on a riverbank and just watching the river and it's fall and there's leaves everywhere on this river and they're just flowing, right? So you're having these thoughts in your head. Picture yourself on the riverbank. The leaves are thoughts and they're just going, right? They just keep going.
Yes.
They just go. They don't
Yes.
unless you get in that river and they
Yes.
start sticking on you, they're just let them go.
Yes.
Like that's been the biggest help, like the biggest takeaway for me in therapy, like that. I'm still not perfect with it by all means. I have my bad days and I'm in that damn river
Yeah.
with those
Yeah.
leaves, but like
Right.
just that because I'm a visual person.
Yes.
Um, so just it may help some people out there. Like picture that sitting on the riverbank, just watching the leaves go. And
You know,
unless you
and
get in that river surrounded
yeah,
by the leaves, you're fine. They're just thoughts.
100%.
They're
They're
just thoughts.
just thoughts.
Yes, that's it.
They're just thoughts and they end up dictating us. You know, we hear this over and over again. We have 90,000 thoughts a day. And of those 90,000 thoughts, 91% of them are the same thoughts we thought
Yeah.
yesterday. But those thoughts are electrical impulses that are on a loop. They're just
Mhm.
running on a loop. And they're
Right.
just, that's all they are. And it's like what you said earlier on, it's like being a wise observer. You
Mhm.
said it, we might have been off camera, but it's like,
Yeah.
what, like observe what's going on, zoom out,
Right.
like, and you're like on the riverbank watching it float.
Yeah.
Wow, those are their thoughts again.
Yep.
Look at
Oh,
that.
there they go. They're
There they
gone.
go. And I'm not following them.
Right, exactly. Stay out of the river.
Yeah. And that's
Yeah,
what you did with all of your jobs. So let's go back. So what
yeah.
happened? So then, okay. So you're really, really scared, you're saying, and then you lose your mom and your grandfather.
Right. So after that, I'm trying to think.
You were
So it was
describing
about,
depression during that time too.
yeah. Oh, yes. But unfortunately, I didn't seek help during that time. And I don't know why. It was probably a pride thing, in trying to, stand tall for my family when my dad couldn't. Um, because during that time, he lost his wife of 47 years.
Wow.
My grandfather was 96. Like he was kind of, I don't want to say incapable, but decisions were very difficult. So now everybody's looking at me.
Yeah.
So to make decisions. So during that time, I felt like I had to kind of suppress things
Yeah.
and take care of business, so to speak.
Hmm.
So I felt like stuff came out later,
Yeah.
uh, but like we talked about, things happen for you. So in retrospect, the pandemic, I'm grateful for. Number one, I was able to be there for my dad. Like, obviously I would have been there for him,
Hmm.
but because I basically had no work, I was there for him night and day. Like I couldn't have not been,
Love
which
that.
was a huge help for him. And B, it forced me, because I knew business would come back eventually, right? Like eventually. So it forced me to look back over the last 13 years and think, what could I do better? What processes could I put in place? How could we do this different? How can we do that different? What relationships can we build while things are closed? Actually, I still have contacts, I still have emails,
Yes.
and I was able to pick up a lot of new business just by contacting people during the time. Because in the restaurant business, as you know, I'm sure people move around a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not here anymore. I'm over there, but I could, we could use you over here. So it was a blessing. As bad as it was, I mean, for me, and it was a lot worse for other people. When you look back at it, for me, it was a blessing.
But do you see
It
how
taught
you
me a lot.
made it the blessing?
Say again.
See how you made it the blessing?
Yeah.
You looked, and you looked for how you could find the success in it, or
Hmm.
you could improve it. I
Hmm.
mean, and that's like such a great lesson for all of us in hard times. It's usually a time that's going to teach us.
Right.
It seems impossible, right? In
Right.
some situations,
And
right?
that took a lot of personal development, a lot of growth, which, quite frankly, I didn't get into until probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. I'm 48 now. Had something like this happen to me in my pizzeria days, even though I was a, go getter, I probably would have folded. I didn't know how to handle it. This was a lot of years of work to be able to recognize, pivot, and move the other way,
Yeah.
which is
But if
important
you folded, you would have learned from that,
for sure.
would
Yeah,
have built the muscles, right?
yeah, would
So
have been a
it's like,
different learning experience, but yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
right. Yeah. So then tell us about that, that great, when that experience, that when this was born.
Oh, this new day. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to say it was about a month after my grandfather passed. I'm still in the weeds. I woke up one morning, I looked in the mirror, brushed my teeth, and I'm looking, and I'm staring at myself, and I feel nothing. I see nothing. I'm just there, right? Which it felt like an eternity, but it was probably like 5 seconds, whatever. And then I feel this pressure on my shoulders, and I just fell to my knees, and I said, "Thank you, God, for this new day." And immediately, I felt this gratitude, like shit, like I'm alive, like it's whatever, 5 in the morning. I have a whole nother day in front of me. I have another chance. Let's do this.
Love that.
And from that day forward, like things got just a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, because I've practiced gratitude in the past, but life gets in the way, right? You kind of forget about these things.
Hmm.
But just having gratitude for waking up just changed everything. Like I just lost two family members, and I immediately thought about like how many people didn't wake up this morning
Yeah.
on the planet. Like
Yeah.
a lot.
Yes.
Like, just having gratitude for that just changed my perspective on everything. Um, and I still practice that. I'm not as perfect as I used to be, but um, I still practice gratitude every day. Thank God every day when I get up. Thank you again
Mhm.
for helping me arise and giving me another shot. Even as bad as yesterday may have been, it may have been the worst day of your life. You just
Yeah.
woke up again. You have another chance
I love
to do it
that.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
When I read that, when I read that, what you just said, that story, like it just brought tears to my eyes because it's really anyone could, that's free,
mhm,
like that gratitude. And it really is supernatural. When you grab hold of it, it actually is the type of thing that can bring you like to tears when you feel
mhm.
that sense of gratitude. It's not just like a rote, like, oh, I'm grateful. It's like a
Right,
real experience,
right. And
right? You know what I'm
I
talking about,
really,
right? Yeah.
really challenge people to dig deep with this too, because
Hmm.
it's easy to, okay, list out 5 things you're grateful for. Okay, I'm grateful for my house, my car, my business. The surface level things are very easy. When
Yeah.
you like really start to, that's what I do now because I'm so in tune with it. Like throughout the day, I'll just find these little, I call them like micro moments,
Yes.
or it's just something silly. Like, I don't know, like I'll reach in, I'll go to a convenience store and grab a water, and like
Yeah.
I'm thankful for this cold water
Yeah.
that I can grab right now,
Yep.
like at a moment's notice.
Yep.
And anytime while I'm driving down the street, like how many people on this planet don't have access to this? But
Exactly.
yet, we can do it at a moment's notice at any time. Just being grateful for the smallest things that a lot of people would literally kill for on this planet. I think
Yep.
it's important.
I'll tell you, I'm never, I don't think I've ever shared this ever, maybe, but it's bringing it to mind because I was opened up to the experience of supernatural gratitude by in my 20s. I was hospitalized for an eating disorder, and every meal was like, after that, when I was getting better, every meal that was in front of me was like a challenge. So I remember, and it's very weird. I remember sitting in front of the meal, and I would just go, okay, I have this, whatever these inches are, like 11 by 11, whatever that is, right there, this square, and this meal is right here. I could cry even thinking about it, but it's with gratitude. And I remember thinking, when I would sit there and I would eat and I would start to cry, gratitude, because I'd be like, thank you so much for this meal. And I would
Mhm,
just like get like totally in the moment, head, heart, feet, all in the same spot. Thank you that I'm here today. And it really wasn't just it wasn't like an affirmation. It wasn't anything that, I can't think of the words, but it's not like just somebody told me to do that. It
right,
came from God. It
right.
came from a supernatural experience that I was having, that I just was in the darkest period of time in my life. The law of polarity. So
Mhm,
it was like, the backdrop is black, and this is like, wow, like it makes you feel
mhm,
the gratitude is so great. So like a child who doesn't have water, who now
mhm,
has that sip of water, is so grateful. Like I feel
mhm.
like that's what, in America, we don't get to have that
You're
experience.
you're exactly right. I've 3 cases of water sitting right over here, like it's nothing.
Exactly.
Like, I don't even
Nothing.
think about it. Yeah. And like you said, there's children around the world who would die for a sip
Yep.
of water of
Yes.
water. And I think you hit the nail on the head. We as Americans, quite frankly, have lived fat and happy for a very long time, and
Yes.
a lot of people aren't grateful for what's around them. And the bottom line is, how could you expect more or better if you're not grateful for what you have now?
You can't.
I
You
mean,
don't.
you can't. If you get in your car every day and sometimes it doesn't start and you're beating on the dashboard saying, "Oh my god, this piece of shit, I can't stand this." Like, how are you you're
Yep.
telling the universe you don't want anything better.
Yes. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. I hate what I have. And
Yes.
it's like gratitude's a state of receivership. It's like
Yes.
that's positioning yourself, right?
Mhm.
And I think that, like these experiences that are so painful that people have or whatever, death, I lost my husband. I mean, that was like what I had to do in my mind to be okay was like fighting for every breath that I took, just like,
Yeah.
oh my God, we have to gain more than we lost. We have to figure out how to do that. So writing down anything that could possibly be good that day, but
Right.
my point is I think that we'll as Americans, let's say, we'll be upset, things will happen or whatever, but these tragic things that are really dark and really hard and scary, losing people or whatever, they are our greatest gift.
Mhm. I
It gives
agree.
us an opportunity to experience a supernatural thing that we'd never experience,
I agree.
right?
100%. Yeah.
Think about who you'd be if you didn't have pain, Mark.
Oh, I know. We all
Right?
it's almost like we have to experience it
Mm-hmm.
to grow.
Yep.
There is I mean, it's like going to the gym every day. I'm literally ripping my muscles apart so they
You
can
should
grow
see
back
this
together
guy in the gym. He's freaking crazy.
so they
Holy
can grow
shit.
back together
Yes.
bigger, right? Like that's how
Yes.
it works. It's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing with pain. If
Yes.
you look at it from a certain lens, especially, what can I learn from this? Now, granted, there's going to be a downtime where you may not be able to focus, but eventually, you have to ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What has this taught me? Where can I
Yes.
move forward with this? Where can I pivot? What idea can I bring from this?
Mm-hmm.
What relationship can I make better from this? The tentacles go everywhere.
They do. And it's like if we can condition our mind to remember that, because when things are hard, we can forget, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. We
So,
need to give ourselves some grace. I'm not saying you got to do this
oh,
an hour after things happen. Like sometimes you got to
yeah.
just, it's okay to have a bad day and just sit there and suck. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Sometimes people need that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
uh, but eventually you got to get out of the hole.
Yeah. And it's a backdrop. Like, that day that sucks. And when you wake up and the next day doesn't suck,
Right.
it feels even better. Right.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly
So
right.
like when you said this new day, you got on your knees yeah. And you said, thank you, God, for this new day. Right.
Mhm. I didn't,
Then what
Allison.
happened?
It was sometimes I feel like this was a dream, honestly, because I tell people when I first told this story to somebody, they're like, "Wait a minute, somebody pushed your shoulders." I said, "I don't." That's what it felt like. I don't know, like, but the words, like, I didn't think about saying them. They just kind of came out of my mouth. Like, I mean, obviously it was God. Like,
Yes.
I'm frank,
Yes.
but when I tell the story, sometimes I feel like it was a dream. Like,
Yeah.
but it obviously happened, and to continue that story, like that phrase, this new day, like obviously I practice the gratitude. I said it every morning, but like the phrase itself, it was like haunting me for a while. It was like months. I'm like, it like wouldn't leave my brain, wouldn't leave my brain. I'm like, so a couple months later, I'm in my closet looking for a t-shirt to wear, right? Flipping through, looking at all these brands, and then finally I'm like, holy shit. There it is. Let's put the message on apparel and go from there.
So now what is that? You have an apparel line.
Yep.
Well,
This new day apparel.
yeah.
tndapparel.com. Yeah. I haven't done much with it lately just because I've been so busy with the other business, but the website is still live. There's still a lot of inventory on there. New designs coming next year for sure.
One of the shirts you have on there with the scripture that says iron sharpens iron, so shall man sharpen man. And I love that. I always refer
That's
to
my
that
favorite.
scripture. So yeah, you want to tell us how come that's your favorite?
Because there's nothing truer than that. I mean,
Yep.
we, in my opinion, are put here for this and to help
Yes.
people, to
Yep.
be good people, to help each other succeed, to walk hand in hand with one another. So you can go help somebody else. So I can go help somebody else. And then the chain reaction just keeps going and going and going and going.
There's a reference. Did I interrupt you? Were you
No.
finished? Yeah. So there's I would reference that when we would do marriage counseling, right? And the concept of that like, I feel like marriage, is supposed to glorify or reflect back the goodness of God or the divine, or, whatever anyone sees it. So, and then we look at our divorce rate is like 60%, right? Or more now. So what I really like explored that, in my thinking, because, as a therapist, I was combining that with faith, right? So then I'm looking that, okay, so people are experiencing this friction, iron sharpens iron, right? This friction with one another. And what they're taking that friction as is something to say what's wrong with the relationship, instead of seeing the friction as an avenue that reveals to us things that are in us that need to grow and change, that then can bring the people closer together and then reflect God's goodness. So it's like this odd thing. So it's like, just like what we're talking about, which is, I just thought it was fascinating that was on your website, because I'm thinking, we're talking about, you can take a dark situation and you can look for, how can this be something that's going to create something great? So you can take a really dark, revisited argument in a marriage. It just keeps resurfacing, and say, okay, God or universe, whatever, there's something that's pointing to something in me.
Right.
Right. And it's an opportunity to become better. Right.
Absolutely.
So it's like, this
100%.
is like what we're talking about.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell me what you're thinking.
Um, I
Put you on
just
the
love
spot.
that thought.
Yeah.
I love the thought. It's because if something is bothering you, like if you're bothering me, it's probably me, not you. And I
Well,
think a lot of people,
I don't know. I could do some shit that will bother you. I could find it. I can do it right now if you want. I will.
but you
Okay,
know
go
what I
ahead. I'm
mean.
sorry.
It's naturally a reflection of our own insecurities for the most part, I believe. And I think if we're able to step back and kind of go to that third eye thing and
Yes.
overview the situation from a third eye point of view, you're probably going to find the fault in yourself. Not always. I'm not saying people aren't wrong, but I think society in general has a natural reaction just to blame
100%.
blame others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and listen, I was in my young age, I was very good at that.
Mm.
Um, my mom, God rest her soul, she was let's just say a woe is me
Mm.
person. And I've never talked about this publicly before. Um, and I was like that too growing up. Obviously, I was around her, and when I broke from that and recognized it and stopped, that's when her and I relationship there was friction there,
Yeah, that makes sense.
because I recognized it, broke from it, was trying to help her break from it, but she had a lifetime of it,
Yeah.
and it was difficult. And she, because I was trying to help her, took it out as I was being mean or didn't love her, or that kind of thing. When all I wanted to do was just help, for her break free of that woe is meism, so to speak, which is a dangerous road to go down, I
It's so
think.
dangerous. Yeah. That, like, victim mentality, right? That thing
Mm-hmm.
right there. It's incredible, because when you're in that place, it's like, there's, if you're relating to someone in that place, you've kind of two choices. You can either be their hero,
Mm-hmm.
and you can commiserate with them and try to, like, rescue them by validating the pain, or you're their perpetrator. You're the one who's hurting them, because they need to be in a hurting state. They need to
Mm-hmm.
be. So it's so painful to have someone like that you love.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, it's
Right.
very, very difficult. But that's one of the things I see so much, people not knowing what to do with their parent who's like that, because they want so much
Right.
to help, but the help is for them to break out of that.
Right.
right?
Yeah. And that's
But think,
you
yeah,
explained her to a T. That's exactly how it was. I was hurting her because I was actually trying to help.
yeah.
Mm,
And isn't
and it
it weird? Because if you tell someone who's a victim, it's like, if you tell them that they're not a victim, they're hearing that you don't understand their pain.
right.
And
Right.
that's not the case. It's, you know, it's almost like a victim state is almost like a muscle that's spasming. It just won't stop. It's just, it's
Mm,
a,
yeah.
you know, it's like you know, just rehearsed, you know, I think Dr. Joe says, one long emotional response
Mm,
that
that's
just
very good.
doesn't, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see like that's really super painful. I mean, my mom was a lot like that too, like victimy. And
Yeah.
I just, so whenever I even want to share like an emotion with someone that's a little bit, you know, sad or whatever it is, I feel like I'm being a victim,
Oh,
you
Allison,
know?
I'm the same exact way. I think that's why
Yeah.
I hide my emotions so much. Right.
Yeah.
I'm the same exact way. Like I think about saying or releasing something or talking to somebody, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna come off as kind of victimhood. I'll just keep it to myself.
Isn't
you
that
know?
funny? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the reverse. Like instead of like going in the direction of our parents, it's like we undo them
Yeah.
by our
Yeah.
behavior. But that's
Yeah.
also dysfunction because what's the original source of our behavior? It's that we're trying to not be or
Right.
be. Either
Right.
one is, you know, a
I think
problem, right?
now that we're talking through this, I think that's what took me so long to get into therapy. I mean, I just started
That
going
makes
about
sense.
4 months ago, and I mean, I've been in therapy 4 years ago, but
Yeah.
I don't know that I was absolutely honest back then.
Yeah.
And if you're not honest, it's not going to work. And this last 4 months has been world changing for me. There's been a lot of pain, but there's also processes and healing through that pain. So I encourage everybody. I don't care how great your life is. Like you need that third party, non biased person to talk to. Everybody does.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it would help
You
your
know,
business too.
yeah. No, but you know what it is? Like, I don't ever even think of that. Like, but I feel like just I'm thinking about just myself or whatever. Just I forgot that that's what we do here, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, I feel like this nothing changes until it becomes what it is. Like the truth is a pathway to all freedom. Like, how is it possible if we don't just say, yes, this is how I feel? It doesn't mean you're gonna stay there. It's just
Right.
it's like just be there for a minute.
Right.
Like, see,
Right.
when we were talking and you just went right on to the good thing, I said, let's go just for a minute. Let's stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Because isn't that where we connect with people too? That is the intimate moment. Into me, see.
I like that.
Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
like vulnerability, think about anything we see on like the internet, I think, who are we drawn to?
Right. Right. Hmm.
I'm just going to go on the internet and start crying.
Well, I think the internet. When you're in a bad place, the internet is not the place to go
No, believe
because
me, you know,
social
yes.
media, like when you're in a bad place, you don't want to go on social media because social media is fake, like
Yes.
just all fake.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's the last place you want to be. And that's what
Yeah.
I did in 2020. I took a break from social media. Um, you know, I worked out. I've spent 75 hard and a couple different podcasts probably saved my life in
Yeah.
2020. Honestly, um,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
yeah.
cool.
I mean, there's some days we all know 75 hard, right? There's a couple tasks got to do, and sometimes those 5 tasks were the only thing I did that day. But it forced me to do something.
Yeah. And it's, you feel
Something.
like such a winner, like
Yeah.
when you do it, right?
Yeah. Oh, and it's propelled my fitness, 3 years later. Like I'm 48 years old, and this is probably the best shape I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
worked out my entire life since I was 14, I think, but I've always had those, traditional ebbs and flows where you're in
Yes.
shape for a year, you don't work out for a year, and you know,
Yeah. What's your
I've never been
workout tips for us?
as far as what? Let's be more specific.
Just like getting into your most fit place in your life. How did you do that?
You have to create um create a ritual or routine, create a routine, build the discipline, and then live the lifestyle.
Hmm.
I mean, that's it. You have motivation. I cannot stand that word.
Yeah.
It'll get you started, but it's not going to get you anywhere. I mean,
Yep.
this morning, I just made a post this morning, like my alarm went off at 4:04. And I'm like, I do not want to do this today. I did not want to do this today. But
Yes.
I had a jam-packed day, and I knew if I didn't do it then, it wasn't going to get done. And I
Hmm.
got my ass up and got to the gym. Like, but I built that discipline over years, years.
Yes.
Um, and when I say live the lifestyle, so I think a lot of people, why they do the yo-yo thing is they go full force into something for 3 months,
Yes.
and then they back off and they go right back to where they were.
Hmm.
You have to build enough discipline to build a lifestyle where if you're not doing 75 hard or a bodybuilding show, that you can have a bowl of ice cream tonight and wake up tomorrow and you're fine, back on your diet, no worries. Friday night comes, you go out to dinner with your friends, have some drinks, nice meal, dessert, everybody's happy, wake up Saturday and not make that a 4-day thing, a 7-day thing, a
100%.
month thing.
I agree.
That's what I mean by living the lifestyle.
I couldn't even agree more. I feel like that's like a transitionary period when you get to the point where you try. To me, like my why with like fitness, or yeah, basically fitness was, what did I really, really need? What I really, really needed was to trust myself,
Mm-hmm.
and like that's discipline, right? That
Yeah.
that the feeling is not going to override what I promised myself. Can I trust myself enough to take care of myself? And that's
Right.
like a relationship with yourself, right, Mark?
Yeah. Keeping the promises you make to yourself, right? We hear
Yeah.
Ed say that all the time.
Yes.
You have to keep
And
the promises you make to yourself because you're not going to feel like it. You're not
no,
going to feel like working out. You're not
it's
going to
just like
feel
you
like
brush
eating
your
chicken.
teeth.
Right.
It just becomes like, it's just like not an option.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
then what you were saying about the ice cream or whatever, because then that stuff loses its power,
Right.
because either you can have it or not. I'm a person who had an
Right.
eating disorder. So like it could be like, either you eat it and you're never going to stop, or you can't eat it at all. So you have to starve
Right.
yourself, whatever that is. Right. But
Right.
the thing is that it has no power over a disciplined person. Right.
Right. That's exactly right.
You
Right.
can't
And I
do it.
know because I was on that yo-yo for years. Like I'd be
Yes.
in great shape for 2 years and I wouldn't work out for 6 months. I have to
Yes.
start again. And finally, I'm at 48 years old. I finally got it. I'm not saying it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing for people is if you're starting something or want to start something, you have to be brutally honest with where you're at right now. And what I mean by that is if you used to be a bodybuilder and you haven't worked out in 3 years and you're ready to get back into it, you're not going to walk in the gym and bench 405 tomorrow. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Like, and on the flip side of that, if you're 425 pounds, have never worked out in a day of your life,
Mm-hmm.
and you finally want to do something, you're not going to go to the gym for an hour tomorrow and work out. Go in for 10 minutes, do a couple things, and leave and go back tomorrow for 12 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Be incredibly honest with yourself where you're at now. If you're eating McDonald's 6 times a week right now, eat it 5 times next week, 3 times a week after that. Don't try to quit eating McDonald's right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not gonna happen. You're gonna fail.
Mm-hmm.
Just slowly pull back. It's incremental steps, I think, is better for the long haul. Now, don't get me wrong, some people can do the opposite and they're fine.
Mm-hmm.
It can work for them that way. But I think for the general mass, small steps forward every single day is the key.
I'll tell you something, Mark. Small is the new big.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Right? Because we won't do something because it's not a big move, or we don't get an immediate result. Right. I
Mhm.
would say to people, because we specialize in eating disorders, we're like, you know what? We work on the mindset, we do the behavior, but then the result is not, it's not now. We accept now, right? Like you're
Right.
saying, tell the truth, right? But
Right.
and it's like it's not going to happen now. We're in such a like an immediate culture,
Oh yeah, we
right?
want immediate satisfaction. That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to work out and I'm going to have all this now. No, it's like, we're always talking about in our circles, whatever. It's like we're like a 30-year overnight success. Like it's a
Exactly.
lifetime of becoming,
Exactly.
and then you die. No, I'm sorry. That's bad.
Well, that's the other thing too. If you're 55
It,
years old and you've never worked out before, don't look at 32-year-old dudes like benching 405. They're 30 years younger than you. Like,
yeah. Mhm.
it's different.
Yes. Acceptance.
Yes,
Let me
exactly.
ask you, so in this conversation, like, what would you say? What would you say as a human being, 48 years old, who's done all the stuff that you've done? Because you're a success, right? Would you call yourself a success?
No,
No? Okay.
no.
That's, I get that. I wouldn't call myself one either. Other people
Absolutely
would.
not.
But yeah, so how come you're not a success? Tell me how come.
Not even close.
Hmm. What
Not
would
even
be a
close.
success to you?
I don't know if I'll ever have that answer, Allison. Honestly, I don't know. You could
Because
ask me
when
that
you
when I'm
get
100.
there, there's another one ahead,
That's
right?
exactly. I think the problem with that is you get, say success is here and I get here. Well, now success is here. Now I got to get
Exactly.
here.
Exactly.
You
So
know?
success is growth,
Yes.
continual growth. Isn't that what it is then?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Because that's my frustration. I think in these, as an entrepreneur, this kind of way we think, it's like you can look at it that we're not getting, that whenever we get somewhere, we always want the next thing. But really, in actuality, it's really just being just a person who's always looking for the higher level. Like
Right.
that doesn't have to be a bad thing. It could be a
No,
really cool thing, right?
actually, I'm gonna change my answer just a little bit. I just thought of
Do it.
something that success for me. So I heard somebody say this, and I can't remember who it was. I want to give them credit, but this idea has stuck with me, and it's my new passion is to have or be so, I guess, wealthy and have such influence and resources you can give 90% and live off
Yes.
10.
Yes.
Reverse tithe. You
Yes.
imagine the impact you make giving
Yeah.
90% of what you have?
I love
How
it.
awesome would that be? Well, I should say, how awesome is that going to be when I do it? Like, I
Yes.
mean, it's, yeah,
Yeah.
that would be success for me. When I get
Yeah.
there, I'll call myself a success.
That's really cool. Because, if you really think about it, it's just like whenever, wherever we are, if we're having a hard time, like I have a friend who would say when he would ever have like hard time with money, he would immediately, as soon as he had a hard time with money, he'd go out and he'd go feed the homeless. He'd go find someone to give money to,
I
you know?
love that.
Yeah.
I do that. I've done that too. There's days where I'm just feeling down and not, having one of those days.
Yeah.
I'll jump online and give to my local charity.
Yep.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's, or
Find
if I'm driving
someone.
around, I'll give to a homeless. I'll give to a homeless person. People
Mm-hmm.
say, "Well, why do you do that?" I said, It's not my job to worry about what they're going to do with that money. If they go
No, it's
drink and
not.
makes them happy, then that's their decision.
Yep. Don't clot the blood, Mark. Always
No.
got to keep it flowing, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's
Mhm.
what it was explained to me a long time ago. Um, how'd they explain it? If you hold money like this, not a lot's getting out, but not a lot's getting in.
Yep.
If you hold money like this,
Yes.
it's going to blow away, but more is just going to keep blowing in.
Yeah, it's God's
So,
economy, right?
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
just like that gratitude, it comes pouring in, and then and when you're in that state, when you're in your best state, when you just feel love of God, all you want to do is give.
Yeah. And
There's
listen,
nothing
it
to
doesn't
hold
always
on
have to be
to.
about money
Yeah.
either.
No,
It could be
anything.
time, it could be resources, it could be information.
Yep.
It can be so much other things.
Yes, true.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't always have to be about money.
no, I feel like we could talk forever,
Yeah. Me too.
but I want to be
And I think
respectful. Tell me. I'm
I
gonna,
think
go ahead.
I know we got to wrap up, but
No, it's okay. I'm here.
we were put here to be givers. Period.
I
End of
agree.
story. We were put here to give,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's money, whether that's time, whether that's resources, whether that's a smile, whether that's a hug, whether that's holding the door, whether that's whatever. We were put here to give because you have no idea what someone's going through. And if I open the door for you at a gas station, you're having a bad day, and that little gesture might have just changed your day like that. Or if I smile at somebody and they smile back and they were just having the worst morning ever, now I just forced them to smile. You have no idea
Yep,
the
I love
trajectory,
that.
the ripple effect that might have on people. So
So true. I don't know why I feel so compelled to tell this silly story. I'm going to tell it. I don't know why. Must be God. So basically, I heard this story there. There was this person who went to like a gas station convenience store, and they kept hearing over and over again in their head, like nonstop, seemingly from God, go over to that case of drinks and stand on your head, kick your legs back, and and do that, and kept hearing it. And the person's like, I am not doing that. That is weird, and I'm not doing it. That finally they went over and they did it. And the girl who was the cashier started hysterical crying. And they went over to her and they were like, what's wrong? They're like, she was like, you have no idea. I was going to kill myself. She's like, I was going to kill myself. And I said, okay, God, if I'm really supposed to live, let somebody come in and just like stand on their head over there in front of that thing. They just made some stupid thing. Is that unbelievable?
I
know,
chills
right?
I just got. Wow.
So like, think of the things that we don't think, like, well, I don't want to do that because I feel stupid. I don't want to do right. But we don't know.
That's the
Right?
thing. Like that voice in your head.
Mm,
Who do you think that is?
yeah, right.
That's
Not the
God.
mean one.
That's God.
Yep. And it's, there's all these like, and it can be these odd things. And I think when you start to develop this lifestyle of like being that wise observer, you said that third eye, like observe, zoom out, what's going on? Like, and anything that's holding us back because of fear or what other people think, that is like my biggest, I got to get out of that forever. That like what other people think thing.
Uh-huh.
It's like
Yeah.
such a prison, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's impossible to leave forever.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of minimizing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just being
Not letting
human.
it hold you back.
Right. Exactly.
Doesn't sound like you let it hold you back.
Oh, I have my moments. I'm
Yeah.
human. I'm
Yeah.
human. I have my
Because we do
moments.
need to get along with others.
Yeah, absolutely.
We do have to get along with
Absolutely.
one another, right? Or it
Yeah.
would be a
Yeah.
bad world, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to
100%.
leave us with the thing about that. Imagine if everybody, Mark, gave, how like the principal in Arete, they would say, when you go into that group, you're here to give. And if everybody here is giving, we're all getting.
That's right.
So imagine a world where everybody's giving. We're all getting.
Yep.
Crazy,
That's right.
right?
Yes.
So tell us where people can find you, how they can buy your shirts and all your stuff, your hoodies and all your shenanigans over there and everything about you.
So I first have to say, I have a podcast right now. It's This New Day, but I am rebranding beginning of the year, and I haven't been this excited about something in a long time.
Yes, tell us.
It has a lot to do. I'm not going to talk about it right now, but it has a lot to do with what you just said,
Yes.
what we just talked about.
Okay.
So I'm excited about that. So
You're not
there's a
gonna
handful of podcasts for This New Day. Thisnewdayapparel.com is a website. Same as Instagram. My Instagram is Mark_Ferrelli. Mark Ferrelli Facebook. I do a lot of fitness stuff on there as well. It's really my passion. So yeah, you can find me there.
Yeah, his fitness is it's like, holy, I'm like, what are you doing? Like he's like this wild man. I don't know, like fire and shit. Like, right? Do all this stuff. It's like very like intense. I'm like, I don't even know if I could look at this. It's like a little looks like dangerous. I don't know. But
That's my
anyhow,
outlet.
no, it's cool. It's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So is there any like words of like life wisdom that you would like to share with someone? And just picture some person, the youngest part of you that was in the most pain at the earlier time in your life. What would you say to that young man today?
take risks, act on your gut feelings, and chase your dreams early.
Oh, I love it.
That would be the things I would say.
That's really good.
Early, because I feel
Early.
like I waited way too long to really start running. So
Yeah,
if you're
me
young,
too.
yeah, just start running.
Yeah, I love it. And
Yeah.
there's not much to be afraid of. All the things that we're afraid of, right? There's really not when
Action.
you look back.
Action cures fear.
Say it again. Action.
Action cures fear. When you're
Yeah,
moving and acting, there is no fear. You're doing something.
true.
So
That
run
is
towards
true.
the fear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you,
I have to
Allison.
say this has been I don't want to any jealousy from my other guests, but this, any hate, so if you're going to comment and say that, whatever, maybe like Mike Fallett might be like, well, I thought I was your best guest, whatever. But just leave your comments to yourself. But I just want to say this is a really, really, really I feel like I got so much out of this podcast myself. It was just such a good conversation. And it's really so much about the goodness, just of God and life. And I just really appreciate our time together. Now we're even fast friends forever.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, Allison. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. I appreciate you too. It's a wrap.